Good evening. It's 6:02, and I'd like to call to order the Historic Architectural Review Board of Lower Makefield Township. We have a couple of items to deal with tonight. I would ask that we bring in the presenters as soon as they can, but I guess it's simple enough to approve the minutes if everybody has read them and no changes are required. Hearing none, I would mention that at one point it says Mr. Luba, and I'm wondering if that might have been Mr. Kirk. Did that get changed?
Mr. Luba.
Yes, because they addressed you as Ms. Latchik later on. So if you weren't involved in the point that was being made, did you notice that or at all? Or
No, I really did a very cursive kind of review, so I didn't notice that.
okay,
Sorry.
I would ask that they go back through the minutes or the recorded minutes and see who actually was making the point. It might have been Mr. Kirk that they were referring to. So we could table this vote until the next meeting if that seems appropriate.
Yes, that is good.
Okay. I don't think, do we need a motion for that? Table the matter until the next meeting and deal with the other.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll proceed then with without approving the minutes and having them and the township administration look up who actually was speaking at the time. I guess I could have done that, but I apologize. So if Eric can bring in Trombino, Doug Trombino. Is it Eric who does facilitates the webinar or the web meeting?
I thought they listened in so that they could hear when we were ready.
I thought so, yes. How do we get to to ask them to bring in our first presenter? Hello?
Everyone is
Mike right now. Mike Kirk is here. Okay, great. Mike, I'm sorry we started without you, but hopefully we can proceed with our first presenter.
No problem. Thanks, Steve.
Are they listening in, Steve?
Yes, he did say something, and I thought that he was going to bring on the presenter. Eric, is Mr. Trombino here? Item 3, Trombino Barbershop, 1790 Yardley Langhorne Road. Can we proceed? Mike Kirk, do you know how to get in touch with those guys? Coordinators of the technical arrangements for this meeting?
I always thought that they were listening in, and if you just asked the moderator to let them in, that they would let them in.
Well, we have Fred Rice here. Maybe he would know how to.
Yeah, you should be able to just ask them that, and they should let them in.
Currently, everyone is in the meeting right now. No one waiting to join.
Everybody's here? Okay. Then can
As they join
we,
the waiting room, I let them in, and everyone's in here right now.
Yeah, I don't see Douglas Trombino as a name as a participant, so he might not have. I guess he hasn't signed on.
okay, so that's all the people that have dialed in so far. Okay, do we have any information of any formal changes in what was sent to us about the signage? Mike, do you know about that?
I'm sorry, what was that, Steve?
What we have the latest that you sent to us, is that the final version that they would like to have reviewed tonight?
I believe so. It has the flower boxes. He adjusted the size of the window. I don't remember everything else that was asked, but yes, that is the most current.
Okay. We can wait for a few minutes and try and deal with the other item. Well, I'll make an executive decision and say, let's proceed on item number 2 or 3. This would be the Milestone Behavioral Health System at 1648 Yardley Langhorne Road. I believe that's the barn that they have been renovating at the old Miller residence. Are there any presenters from that item? Hearing none. Can we get into that? Everybody has their materials that were sent, correct? And we can proceed at least discussing that and at least get into it a little bit. There's a sign that they have shown out along the road, which is a kind of a wood background with some let's say modern type of drawing and lettering on it. Everybody have had the chance to look at that?
Yes.
Any comments?
Did they provide a different document that showed the sign? Does it have 4 posts, 2 posts, single post? Is it hung?
I had that question too. I just wanted to deal with the artwork first, and then we can get into the idea of the support mechanism. I don't think they're just going to stick it into the ground with a couple of stakes.
Yeah,
it's going to probably be bigger.
Yeah, what kind of business is that? Do we know?
Mental health services, Luba.
I'm sorry?
Mental health services?
Mental health, is that for children?
I don't know what their practice covers, adults or children or both.
Because the reason I'm asking is obvious, the way they have that sign, it looks really very adorable if it's just something related to children. They're trying to depict like a childlike writing.
Mm.
Jeff, do you have any comments?
No, I'm just looking at pictures that Mike sent about wood that they're proposing to use for this signage. Did you get that today?
If that's the background wood that they're talking about?
I believe so.
I was wondering what that entailed. That I thought that might have something to do with the actual renovations, because it has the dimensionals information on it, 3x.
Looks to me like they're proposing to use that as the structure for the sign.
Yep, that's the way I'm reading it too.
But there are a lot of different
Yeah.
things that one could do. That's why I wanted to know if they provided.
I got the
Diagram.
impression, oh, I'm sorry. I got the impression they were using this as the siding replacement. And they were actually talking about the renovations to because they have pictures of the interior. I'm not sure it's in that location.
I think the interior pictures, they're saying that the wood they purchased is similar to the same thing that's on the third floor in the building.
Mike Kirk, have you been out there lately? Or how are they progressing on this?
So they have not started any interior work yet. They did some clean out, but they have not done that yet. They don't have any permits for that. I believe that the wood that they the pictures of the wood that I sent today were taken from another historic barn that was actually demoed, and they wanted to reuse that for the sign. But I don't know any other information other than what they've said.
I think our applicant is here.
Well, that would be great.
I'm sorry, guys. I tried to log into 3 different things and I finally got in. I'm sorry about that.
Wow, I'm glad you're here, because now you can explain the meaning of all of the submittals that you have sent along. Okay. We have copies of them.
Yes. The first thing is just the sign panel itself. We have a company that actually carves hardwood signs. They'll take our logo and they will carve it into both sides of a 1.5 inch thick, depending on what type of wood we choose, panel, and just light painting that they would do with that. That was the one picture that you saw. There's 2 different versions of that. There's a lighter stained wood and a darker stained wood. We played around with some different colors in the initially, but we just thought it'd be better, kind of more plain. We actually even tried it with just no color at all, but that seemed a little too drab. But that's the first thing. The majority of the pictures were the wood. I didn't know, this is our first time dealing with the sign building. I didn't know what kind of information you guys were going to want there. But our idea was we were hoping to use some of the wood from the barn on the property to kind of build the sign frame. But there's really all the old wood that was left there was nothing really like long enough or substantial enough that we could really use. So we took that idea and found some lumber on local marketplace, and so that was the thought process behind there. Kind of used some wood that looked like some real old barn wood to frame the sign, and then set kind of the blueprints of my very rudimentary blueprints of what I think the sign would wind up looking like.
Jen, would you like to repeat your question? The initial one? How are they going to support the sign?
Right. So Drew, did you actually provide a drawing of what the sign you envision it looking like, besides just the face, like how its frame is looking and the...
Did you guys see the actual blueprint that I sent?
That's what I'm missing. Did anybody else see it?
I sent an updated email to Mike earlier today, so that might have missed the deadline.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's much more. If you're not seeing that, then you probably have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Can you possibly put that on the screen?
Let me see how I can possibly do that.
Whatever Drew sent me, either yesterday or today, is what I forwarded to everybody.
Okay. Did you have the one from today, Mike?
You know what? I can't remember. An hour ago. Right. Whatever the latest email was that included the wood is what I sent.
Okay. Yeah, that has about 8 different attachments. So let me see what. Second. See if I can share just the email that I sent, and then Maybe that will make more sense, hopefully. Second, please.
If you have a hard copy, you can just put it in front of your camera. I think we might be able to make do with that. If you can't share your screen or whatever it is that
This
has
is
to be done. Good. Right. We have a copy of that.
Okay, so that's the most recent thing. All right, now let me go. Third floor beam. This is a picture of a very similar type of wood that we use that currently exists on the third floor of 1648 Yardley Langhorne. And this is what our painter / wood finisher was able to do with the wood. He just, it was a real kind of light sanding. And then he used a certain kind of shellac and finish to really just really bring out the color and the grain. That was kind of our thought. That's kind of like the finished look, and I'll show you what it currently, hold on a second, what the wood currently looks like. That's still bad. So, are you guys able to see those or no?
We were able to see the last picture that you threw up of the sign in its latest version, and can follow your description well enough. We have a picture of your roadside installation, which looks like it's about maybe 16 by 24.
Okay, and here's the
on the road. Mm-hmm.
Here's the wood as it is now that we purchased for the frame.
And what does the frame consist of, and how would it be constructed, please?
Hold on one second. I don't know why the blueprint is not showing up here. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm not used to this. One second. Apologize. I honestly thought you guys all had this. I scanned this off from the office earlier today.
Do you have a hard copy that you
don't
can just
have it
show us
here.
in your camera?
Honestly, don't. That's what I'm looking for. And all right, hold on. This is the best I'll be able to do is with these.
Okay, I think we're talking about generalities today. You're looking for some direction. which I think we can accomplish, if at least we have some beginning point that you have in mind, please.
I'm sorry. This is the basic blueprint that I came up with. Let me see if I can turn the screen.
Okay, so this is kind of similar to the signage that they had out in front of the chapel on Edgewood Road.
Yeah, it's similar to a couple of the signs that are out there.
Right, but doesn't have a cap on it, and the size you have there is 5 by
It's about 40 inches.
40 inches, 3.5 by 5 or so.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can you describe the wood? Let's say referring to what you sent us in terms of the materials, and tell us what these things are and how you would handle them, as well as the signage.
Well, essentially everything that you see as the uprights would be created with the wood that I sent you, in addition to the top piece, and then essentially what frames out the sign. All that material is about 2 3/4 inches thick by about it's like about 7 3/4 inch wide is this material. Then we were planning on ripping down that same material used for that little 1x strip there. That would kind of be essentially as the glazing used for the sign to keep it in place. Pretty simple design. That's all.
How are you going to preserve that wood you're using? Because none of that was meant to be outside ever. That's all softer. That's all that wood's on the softer side. A lot of it's pine. I did see there was a piece of quarter sawn oak in there, but most of it's all pine.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not an expert by any stretch of preserving wood outside. I would definitely leave that to.
I just wouldn't want to see you go through that and in a year it just falls over because it's not going to hold up in the ground.
So you think that the type of wood is problematic?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I would be concerned about that. When you said you're putting it in the ground, the first thing I thought was it's not treated and you can't put it directly into the soil. It's just not going to last. Maybe because of the size of it, the thickness of it, you might last even 2 years, but you're probably not more than that.
They were probably rafters. They were probably rafters from a building. 2 3/4 by 7 were probably rafters.
Yeah. I mean, you could conceivably put up a steel frame with proper footing and proper attachments to that footing, and then clad it with that structural or somewhat structural lumber that you have. Then you have to do the transition to the interior. And what I was looking at is you had these lights that I gather you wanted to put into the ground. And if you put it shining up, you have to worry about the shadows because you said the thickness of it, in this case, the depth of it, because you would be framing it with the 2.5 inch side surrounding the sign. I'm reading, if I'm reading the drawing correctly, so it's 6-7 inches deep by 2 inches wide. The 2 inches would be what you see surrounding the side. So you would have this setback, unless you cut it down entirely and make it into something that's less of a dimensional difference.
Yeah, there'd definitely be a couple inches setback on either side.
Yeah. Which creates ledges for moisture to sit on. It's, most signs I think you would find along the roads would have been hung signs off of a post and arms sticking out. Some of it's a mailbox holder, but with a hanging sign from it. Is what they have at the corner lot at the intersection of Stony Hill and Yardley Langhorne, across from the bank.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at all of it. We were looking at. I mean, it seems like we weren't really sure if there was, certainly seemed to be a bunch of different kinds. Some with just two posts on the side and barely connected in the middle. Some with ornamental posts. Some without. Certainly open to any kind of any suggestions on that. How about the panel itself? Is that something you guys are okay with, that type of design?
In terms of the graphics, you mean?
Yeah, just the logo and the actual wood panel and the fact that it would be carved and the thickness.
Yeah. Luba, you want to come in with what you said earlier?
Yes, I had a question, just out of general interest. If you would know what kind of business is that? Is that for children, treatment for children, or adults? Because of the font is sort of like a childlike design font, which I find really very charming. I think the whole thing is very adorable. So
thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we do about 80 to 85% of our clients are children. We work with all the local school districts, so 200 to 300 kids at any given time. So yeah, that was part of our thought process in the logo. So
yeah,
thanks.
I think great, charming. Yeah.
I guess I would caution against the fact that those that font that's used there is actually very thin and heft, let's call it. So that if you're coming down the road, I mean, even with the photograph that you showed with the white background, the black that's visible is not very distinct in terms of saying that I wouldn't be able to pick it out if I were going along at any speed as milestone. It's a consideration that I would offer.
Okay. I mean, that would require us like changing the logo. Is that something that's at our discretion, or how does that typically go?
No, don't change the logo.
But I mean, you can do it. If it's going to be a bigger size, it's going to be proportionally the scale of the lettering is going to be thicker as well. But you do have to worry about the background if it's up against something that is got a lot of pattern to it, like a piece of wood. It might not get the message out, because I can't, just sitting back 2 feet from my screen and making this a half screen, I can't see behavior health with any clarity.
Gotcha. Which part are you looking at? Are you looking at the little sign that I put out there?
Yes. Right. Okay. That you propped up on a steel or a metal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that this, I certainly understand where you're coming from. That sign's maybe like 12 inches by like 14 inches or so. I just put it out there to show you kind of where that was going to be placed. Obviously the real sign would be considerably larger.
Proportionally bigger, I understand. I'm just saying that even that adjustment is going to be because of the fonts. They're very thin fonts. It's not a Helvetica heavy. It's something that has to be considered, and you might want to put up some test ones and see what it's driving past to gauge. I understand what Luba's saying. It certainly has a sensitivity that most signs don't, but it also has to do its job. So,
well, maybe bold it. Bold the font.
Yes, could be. Jen?
I think what we're talking about is the contrast between the letter and the background. So instead of having a wood grain natural background, consider consider white or off-white, and then your letters are going to pop. But it's
Right.
it's the classic thing when you see somebody who has a garage sale sign out and they've written it and they think it looks great because they did it in their dining room. When you put it on the street, you can't read it because the letters are too thin.
Yep.
No, I understand. That's actually, I mean, I'll show you something real quick. Our actual logo is white. So, you know, of course, you're not going to be able to see it. But I understand what you're saying. It definitely makes it a little easier to read. Less contrast. So, but like, so painted the wood white. We had thought about that. This whole concept kind of came with trying to stay, maybe ignorantly, stay true to kind of the spirit of the village. Might have kind of overshot with some of the, maybe not underthought some of the details of it, but that's kind of what our thought process was here. But obviously we want something that looks good and is going to last.
Well, the signs that are hung in the shopping center with the carved out wood background style, the fonts in those are very bold, and the symbols, the lettering takes up almost a third of the space of the sign. So in this condition, your lettering is very thin and very delicate comparative. So that's the point. And we wouldn't want you to get up there and say, oh, wait, nobody knows we're here.
Yeah, I understand. Well, yeah, that's certainly with what these guys are telling us, it will cost to carve all this stuff. We definitely do not want that outcome.
They should be able to give you a mock-up in paper.
Yeah, I asked. I mean, it was like, they don't have it. They're out west, so they don't necessarily deal with any of the sign framing. So that's been a little bit of a challenge because it's kind of fallen on us a little bit. So we'll figure out something else.
Okay,
general,
with this input, I hope you can come back in a month or even two if you like, and have something kind of more formal to present, making decisions based on your research and, whoever is going to be doing the carpentry on the framing. And you also have to have some kind of consideration about foundations, footings in the ground, and how it's attached to that, and all that kind of stuff for Mike Kirk as well. Mike, you have any thoughts?
Hey, Steve, I have a sheet of 3/4 inch 4x8 AZAC that they can have if they can use it. It's white.
What a guy. See, we really try and help our constituents.
It's an expensive piece of material.
Yeah, it is.
Mike Kirk, you there still? I don't see your.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm
there
here.
you are. Okay. Do you have any thoughts about the framing and considerations he needs to make?
No, I was in agreement with what you guys were saying about the wood being too soft and the font. I agreed with all of that.
Okay, so you have a consensus about our thoughts. Everybody seems to have had some input. Drew, if you need anything more, if you want to send an interim kind of thing, we'd certainly be happy to look at it and offer our feedback.
Awesome.
We've done that for others.
That was my only question, is if I could kind of send you something before the next meeting, if we shore this up a little bit more.
Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thanks for coming and thanks for presenting, and good luck on the progress you have.
Thank you.
Up there.
I'll see you. Yep.
All right. Good night. So, if we go back to item number 2, do we have a presenter yet?
Do you have Mr. Doug Trombino, the barbershop?
Yes.
Bring him right into the live room 1 second.
thank you. There you go.
Doug, you are now live with the board.
Hi, everybody.
Your name and the project, please.
Yeah, my name is Douglas Trombino, and the project is a rebranding new barbershop sign at 1790 Yardley Langhorne Road.
Okay. Following up on our meeting from last month, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you want to explain what you sent us, and we'll enter into some discussions.
So the feedback from the last meeting was to, you felt that the sign, I guess, was too square. I guess the corners were a little bit too hard for your liking. And you had suggested first a flower box, as well as instead of having rectangle corners on the top of the sign, is to round off the edges. And I believe you guys do have that that image. If not, please let me know.
Yes, we have an image of a signage applique on the side of next to the window with the flower box.
Yes, sir.
And you've made some adjustment to, there's a black edging. Do we have a color chart for all of this if we move along with this? Mike Kirk? Mike?
Yep, sorry, I was having a problem unmuting.
Oh, okay. Do we have color chart with the specified colors for this sign? If we move along in this, we want to make sure we have all the information together.
Everything I forwarded to you guys.
Okay. So in terms of the actual graphics of the sign, we don't have anything with the actual colors on it, correct?
I have it handy if I need to forward it.
Oh, okay. But we do have, you know, the actual color of red. I guess black is true black, white is white, true white, etc. Yes.
Yes, like specific, like Patone.
Yes.
With numbers following, yes. And I'm forwarding it again, so you guys have it handy.
Great, great. Okay, Jennifer, you had some thoughts about this, the style that he presented.
Oh, yes, thank you. And thank you for coming back and taking another stab at this. You're making progress. I had one comment about the relationship of the new sign to the window and the flower box. And I felt like the rounded top of the sign is really competing with your window, which is a rectangle. And I think you might find that it's more successful aesthetically if your sign is a rectangle, but you take the corners, cut them out of each section. And I did something, I don't know, are you able to see this?
I'm not, I'm sorry.
There it is.
You have.
Hold it there.
I wish I could see it right now. I'm unable to, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, what I did was I drew a rectangle and I scooped out all four corners so that you have a sign that is more akin to being a rectangle, but I think that it will complement your window and flower box design better. I don't know what to say. I can't see this.
Yeah, well, I actually, you know, I have had my graphic artist do that, and quite honestly, I'm a fan of the rectangle sign because everything around that neighborhood is a rectangle.
Yeah.
The shutters on my building are rectangles. The shutters on all of the shutters on all the houses are rectangles. I feel like if I'm cutting off corners, number one, I'm conflicting with everything in the neighborhood. And also personally, I don't like the rounded edges because it just does not match. I feel personally like the rectangle is 100% the go-to. And I hope you do too.
Okay. Jeff, you have any thoughts?
No, I like the idea that Jennifer had, because that way it's still a rectangle, but it's not just a stark rectangle. You know, you've got the corners scooped out. I think that really would complement that side of the building, especially with the arch top window that's there also.
Luba?
So cut out all four corners is what you're saying.
So basically, you take your rectangle and put a coffee can on each corner and draw it and cut it out.
So
Excuse me, you said a what?
I'm just using a coffee can as a reference. If you put it on each four corners, draw it out and then cut it out. So that would be your scooped corners.
So that's like a soft round edge is what you're saying?
It wouldn't
No,
be
see,
rounded, it'd be scooped in, scalloped in.
yeah, so
Okay, scooped in.
it's a true rectangle with just these bites taken out of the four corners, but we're talking about a soft radius.
A
Small.
concave, I understand, right?
Yeah.
I understand. Okay.
concave,
Okay.
just the word. Luba,
Yeah,
do you have any
concave.
thoughts at this point?
Well, when I look at the perspective again, the sign is still large, right? Didn't get any
Yes.
small. And, I think that's the main issue. So if we could perhaps, the whiteness that is so, it really jumps at you because of the dimensions of that. Maybe the white background, it would be more subtle. It would maybe match the building color. So it will sort of blend a little more with the building, won't jump as much as proportions, being that large. Color-wise, just make it more.
The dimensions of the sign are by guideline, or they don't go over the guidelines of what I'm allowed.
No, right. Yeah, no, we
And I feel like the reason of having a sign to stand out a little bit and it not to blend.
Well,
as much. I mean, red, white, blue, and black, as I feel like are something that, are colors that can go with anything.
Yeah. Well, I think the sign would really stand out because, you have the barber, that graphic is pretty dramatic, everybody would see that.
That's the plan.
That's
the intention. All right. My initial response when seeing what you sent was, okay, he's done something of what we've asked, and it's not too completely outrageous in relation to the rest of that facade, because you do have the arch window in the gable end above. So there's certain picking up some of the stylistic approach of the facade, and having that the size of it is not bad. It kind of even mimics the curve at the top of the barber pole. So I wasn't looking for any major changes, but I think that Jennifer's point is a reasonable alternative, which would help reduce the mass of it a little bit while still maintaining the size of the barber pole and your lettering. So that's a consideration if you think you can make that work, and let us know as how you'd like to proceed. I think we can make a determination via phone discussion if necessary, but mostly just reviewing it and giving our input back to the township offices, so as not to delay you an additional month, is what I'm thinking, because you've made some efforts to accommodate our input.
Yes, sir. I would be happy to make those changes and send you that image.
Is that okay with you, Mike? You think that that's a reasonable way to proceed?
I believe so. I don't know if he has to come publicly to show what he's doing, so a member of the public can speak about it. I don't know if that would be an issue or not.
Okay, well, that's a consideration. Why don't we research that a little bit more? We can get back to you about the process you'd have to be entailed here. And in the meantime, if you take away the input that Jennifer's made and I guess the support of that seems to be a general consensus. You can send it back in and we can circulate it and see if we need to get together in July to consider it.
Okay.
Doug, are you reading that my input?
Yeah.
Are you agreeing to do that?
Yeah. Hey, I'm a good listener, so yeah, I'm completely open. I'm a man of the community, and I'm happy to bring back some of those changes. And I'm curious to see what those concave openings will do to the corners too. So I'll send it back into Mike if that's okay, and then I'll wait for correspondence.
Thank you. I appreciate your working with us on this, and hopefully we can get it figured out and get you some kind of formal answer certainly by the July meeting, if not before.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Sounds good. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
So, Jennifer, can you do something of a version of this elevation and do a little Photoshop on it? You know, maybe send it along to him so that we have something more than just a description. And since he was on the phone, he didn't get to see that.
I know. I can take a picture of this and shoot it to Mike, and Mike email it to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to, when you get done with this agenda item, I do have some, I guess, new business now.
Yes, new business.
Okay, thank you. I think that we may have lost our way when it comes to guiding an applicant on how to submit documentation. We used to have a form with directions on what was to be provided depending on what it is they were proposing. And lately we've been getting bits and pieces of things and talking about conjectural items, and it's not good for record keeping and certainly for decision making.
So the topic is the process, and I believe in the guidelines for Edgewood Village and the Harb, there are, and I think maybe Mike Kirk, if you could look that up and send along to the members the specific items that are required in those guidelines, and maybe look into the records of what we've had in the past and the process that we've had in the past, which would included a stamp and actual pen signatures. And
Sure.
Maybe we need to address those issues. If Fred, you want to check with our legal representation in the township and see what we can ask of our constituents.
We can definitely ask. However, because of OpenGov, we can make any form we want to assist the applicants So if you guys want to come together and give us an idea for a form, if there is one that doesn't exist, I'm sure community development can make a form that would suit your needs and the needs of the applicants for whatever they need. So, yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you, Fred. So Mike, if you can do the research and find out what we have from older, from years past, and maybe from the documents that were originally constituted for the guidelines, that might be a good starting point. And Jennifer, it's okay, we can do a little research on our own and come back in next month with a little more discussion about under old business.
Yeah, that's fine. I know that in our archives from past years, we had a form created and we used to use it, and it was the cover page of any applicant's package.
Okay, let's proceed on that. So
Thank
it's an
you.
action item that hopefully Mike Kirk can help us with. Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate you doing this.
No problem. I'll start digging into that.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment out there?
There's no public comment online.
Okay. Any other items that we need to deal with? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:07.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jennifer, second by Jeff. All in favor? Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. So we are adjourned. Thanks
Good night,
everybody
everyone.
for participation.
Thank you.
Right.
Night.
Thanks for